So I've just been reflecting through the course of today on the developmental challenges that we are facing as Africa. And those developmental challenges, digital tools, are tools to use in addressing a particular challenge. We need to have a clear line of sight as to what the nature of the challenge is in itself. When we talk about Africa being globally uncompetitive, the reality is that's not because we lack digital tools. That's because we are trapped at the bottom rung of global value chains across multiple industries. We are operating in a world trade regime which is clearly unfair and often frankly exploitative, and we've got limited bargaining power within that context. We have infrastructure deficits. Some of those infrastructure deficits even limit our abilities to digitalize parts of our economies. And we have limited access to resources, and when we do get access to resources, those resources come with terms and conditions, like you must now implement austerity measures, which means that we can't afford to invest in education, health, or infrastructure, which will grow our productive capabilities to pay back the debts and get out of the debt trap that we're in. So this Africa Free Trade Continental Agreement is central to how the continent is finally starting to collaborate to reposition ourselves in very powerful economic forces that are operating against us at a global level. And the promise of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, of all of these new technologies, is that they can help us to do that better, cheaper, and faster. And we are starting to do it in little pockets around the continent. So we are starting to use biotech and robotics to improve our productive capabilities in agriculture. We're doing the same in mining. We're starting to use additive manufacturing, AI, IoT, to start creating value add so that we don't send our products outside of the continent and other people beneficiate it and sell it back. We use the automotive sector as an example. 10 African countries produce all the raw materials that are required for the manufacture of batteries and other components of electric vehicles. But we sell it to them, they put it together, sell it, beneficiate it and sell it back to us. What the Africa Free Trade Continental Agreement is doing is starting to build regional and continental value chains that allow us to move one or two steps up in this global world order that we're facing. We are looking at, we've got pockets of stuff that is digitalizing, for example, freight and logistics. So we're getting smart ports and harbors in pockets, and we are providing, we've got made in Africa, e-commerce platforms, cybersecurity platforms, digital marketing platforms, and so on. So we are starting to see all of these pockets of change taking place that are helping us reposition ourselves. But I want to speak very briefly just to the two. The one is education training, or the skills-related aspect, because whenever you introduce new technology or you're trying to educate an entire population about a shift that's taking place, we cannot do that through existing education training means. And what Finland is busy introducing, along with others, is using virtual and augmented reality, using AI, using a variety of platforms to begin to transform the nature of education itself, so that we can bring a whole population along with us in this process of the transition that we're facing. So that's just the one thing that's very important. The second thing that I wanted to say was in relation to water. I'm proudly and passionately South African, but sometimes I go to these Nordic countries and I see some of the innovations that they're doing there, and I think, wow, we need to catch up on a few of these things, because they are busy introducing, for example, we're dealing with a water crisis in South Africa. 3.4 million jobs in South Africa are moderately or heavily dependent on water. Those jobs are located in exactly the areas where the water is drying up. As the water dries up, the jobs will dry up. But some of these countries have got technologies where they put a few sensors in the ground, they pulse some stuff. Next thing, you've got a 3D BIM exportable image of the exact state of your infrastructure. You can export that into something that will do hydraulic modeling for you for the whole town, that will tell you where you need to regulate water pressure so that you don't have leaks. You can do digital monitoring of water quality and water quantity at different points, and you can clip a device into an entire complex that will take water that is undrinkable due to chemical or biological contamination and produce potable water almost to pharmaceutical standards by the end of a few weeks. It will just be producing clean water. So we do need to start borrowing some of these technologies, co-creating them wherever possible, but equally saying to countries that we're borrowing them from, we are not simply your new export market. If we're going to buy something from you, we've also got our own innovations. Can you not see how our innovations can fit in with your innovations so that you can take some of our innovations into global markets as well? And that's the nature of the developmental relationship that we need with Finland and other countries in order to have a win-win relationship and not simply a new form of colonization.
Thank you, Daryl. I'm going to ask a quick question to Ayanda. Ayanda, in innovation, SMMEs, in that sentence, how do we support, how do we create an enabling environment for innovation and creativity in ensuring that we're able as Africans to export our proudly created products so that we don't become consumers, become producers? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I like the latter part of your question, moving away from being, the consumer economy to be a producer economy. And this takes a lot of intentionality, especially from, the so-called innovation hubs that, seek to foster this very mentality of how do we begin to, produce, especially when it comes to technology. One of the greatest challenges we're going to have in the era of AI specifically is that we are going to be, and we already see it, that innovation that comes from outside the country, it lends, in our beautiful continent to come and solve our problems. And we are not the people at the forefront of developing technologies that solve our own problems. And there's nothing wrong with getting this technology that's been tried and tested elsewhere. But we kind of need to Africanize it, if I may, coin that term, and make it our own, such that it begins to solve our own challenges. And the biggest way to do that is to be very intentional. When we say we're not a consumer economy, we want to be a producer economy, we need to do that in every sense. And I'll give you an example. In financial services sector, for example, if you look at platforms such as M-Pesa, Momo, which is outside of the traditional banking sector in terms of regulatory framework and so forth, that we've been able to foster that innovation. It's not been able to scale at the level that we wanted to because of we still have regulatory frameworks that hold us back. We still have this thing, and I'm hoping that the movement to this free trade practice is going to allow us between our own borders to be able to drive innovation and scale it out so that we can create this access to, in Africa we have a potential of reaching like 1 billion consumers without leaving the continent. But what's holding us back and what could be holding the producer mentality back is the fact that if you are in South Africa, you struggle to get a product next door. And you struggle to even shift funding to next door, simply because, and in most cases, we understand in terms of the regulatory frameworks from a combating financial crimes perspective, all of those wonderful regulations. But we need to make them work for us in our continent on our own terms in a way that protects ourselves as well. But also, I think one of the things we need to learn to do, I mean, I don't want to mention them, you know, those guys, you know, in the Middle East that are, you know, at war now. One of the things that they did very well in terms of producing technology for the world, and not only for their own consumption, was fostering an element of being deliberate to get investors in, but they got them in on their own terms. That is why they've been able to export that technology to all corners of the world, to a point where the largest contributor to GDP in that particular country is now tech, right? It's not simply because there are enough consumers inside the country. There's consumers outside the country. But the investment philosophy is such that you bring in the investment, but we still have ownership. You don't bring in investment and you take ownership, you take IP. We left then, you know, being consumers, and we left maybe with a couple of bucks in the short term. And I do believe it in order to create the right conducive environment for SMEs, we need to firstly improve our regulatory framework. Two, you know, attract investors, but also the third one, be deliberate in creating access to market. I see, I mean, if you look at it, just at our own country, just about all the universities in this part of the world have innovation hubs. You go visit them during these innovation days, you see wonderful creations that are done locally. Ask them how much of it we've created access to market. Almost none of them, right? What happens to this investment? It ends up not scaling, it ends up not going anywhere. And it then appears that we as Africans, we're not creating enough. We are creating, but we are stifling that creation simply because we're not opening the markets well enough in order for us to be able to take these SMMEs from SMEs to the big corporates of tomorrow.
Thank you. I think we're going to, if Madam 40 minutes can allow us, take 2-3 questions from the audience. Action point going forward. I think as part of this, we need to have a few meetings or few gatherings. Let me just say one thing. Where we're going to look at topics like these from innovation perspective for SMMEs so that we export our IP. I think it must be a deliberate discussion that we need to have in a similar setting like this instead of having pockets. Please hold on.
Just a simple question for all of you. Who of you here are mentoring young people or SMMEs? That's actually very good. Mostly when I go to events, there's like 3 or 4 people. 20 years ago, it used to be almost everybody. I hear you about scaling SMMEs. We need to put proper mentorship programs back in. Doesn't help we invest in somebody, we're not mentoring them. Okay, and we need to mentor these young people. Second thing is it's fine to be consumers. The thing is to be a conscious consumer. And I want you to look at the logo there that says proudly South African. Which products are you consuming? Foreign products? Where does that money go? The beneficiation. To their economy. Why not buying from our own? Okay, that 1,000 rand you spend on that handbag can buy 2 handbags for the lady out here. Okay, who of you have spent some money out here with these young people that are sitting here? Okay, please go and support them. Okay, let's be conscious consumers. And for those of you that didn't listen earlier to the tourism thing, I just want to say one thing. We're missing a big part of the economy. We are exporting our EQ and IQ. How many of our best South Africans are out there working in other countries, okay? And they remit money home. Some of the best chefs in this world is trained in Mpumalanga, okay? I don't know if you know that. There's a waiting list internationally. We're not using them in our own lodges, but they're working all over the world, okay? Let's start empowering our own people and using them.
Thank you. Any other?
Hi, Nolozi. I'm going to comment on the innovation and the component one, automotive, because all of them are STEM, science, technology. And my view is there's two things. One, we don't have a culture that supports engineering disciplines as a country and a proper ecosystem. And that goes across all disciplines, software, hardware, civil, water, and all of that. Because as long as you don't have a proper engineering ecosystem, you can't create, you can't manufacture, you can't even lead and be a thought leader in the next level of that technology. So it's a big problem. I don't, my dad is a service provider of a CETA, so the next comments are not, aimed at education providers. But it's to simply say we're not producing things that are fit for purpose. And the second part of it, again, the engagements that we have on real industries, the ones that need to grow, innovation, technical, they're not enough. Everything is always about brand development. And I love how a lot of the people were speaking, young people need to be developed, and we speak about the soft skills. But the actual master plans, the subject matter expertise, those people are not given enough time on platforms. And too many people who've got opinions are talking in South Africa and who don't actually manufacture, create, or not do anything of impact are given voice.
Thank you.
Maybe Sonwabo, if it's fine. I'm here.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought maybe I'll just give a comment to the ladies' view. I agree, there's a lot of dialogues and you need to have the right meeting of minds. And also in terms of those science and engineering disciplines, I think we need to definitely do more, right? This is why we had a dialogue a month ago. It was the Digital Academies in Africa initiative. It was a dialogue between the international community. It was chaired by Prof. Hanley is the owner of the UNESCO Quality and Equity Education Program globally, right? And it's those kind of forums that help share the mind share of what's being done elsewhere and how can you bring it into Africa correctly. This is why what Daryl was speaking about earlier on in terms of what they're doing in the water sector, it's a massive problem, right? But if you don't create the right ecosystem play together, you're not going to be able to build the skills. And so what's being piloted within that space is called the Living Labs concept. Yeah, so the Living Labs concept is a scenario it's working well in a lot of the mature markets. We just need to now figure out how do we infuse it into our market.
Thank you. I think I need to ask Madam MC first. Me, I'm done from my side. And one of the things that I want us to think about is while we want to take everything, built in Africa, take it out, must we also not look at our curriculum? Must we not decolonize our curriculum for sake of our children so that our symbols, our culture is engraved or implanted into what they study? It's important. The Western child, the Eastern child, what they do when they grow up, they do IT in Mandarin or whatever other language, and the symbols are all Eastern. Our children first have to understand the symbols, then understand English. The other children that they grow with, by then they finish a module. They're still grasping on reading chapter 2, right? Maybe that's why as Africans we need to think about the curriculum first.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. I just wanted to echo what you just brought up now with regards to curriculum. I think it has been a concern for me in terms of, we're speaking about AI. I'm passionate about technology and the evolution of it. And I'm also still in school. And I know that one of the things that get condemned, for instance, when we are doing projects and all of that, is the use of AI. So my question is, as young people, we want to build the Africa that we want, right? and we know that AI is part of us and it's the future. The question is, what are we doing in terms of educating or incorporating it, not just from an IT space, but I'm a financial planner by profession. How are we going to incorporate that into our curriculums, right? Which I really think is very important. And also mentioning social media for young people. I'm a young person myself, right? I feel like, we're not making enough use of social media to speak to the young people. We're saying all of these things. I'm very sure I have access to a lot of young people, and we don't know about this event, How are we making use of the things that speak to the young people to actually introduce these things so that we can be a little bit more involved? So, yeah.
Maybe I'll take part of your question, especially the AI one, right? I always tell people, we are in the era of AI. Think about right now, you can't imagine life without the multi-touch screen, right? There's certain things that you do just naturally now. You need a multi-touch. You give kids now, the good old digital camera, they start fielding with the screen and they realize it doesn't work, they throw it away, right? Simply because it has just become a way of life. We're moving to an era where AI is going to be so embedded in what we do that it's just going to flow naturally, right, without effort. And we're getting there very, very, very quickly. Some of the things that are enabled by AI in the back end, you don't even know, right? You get to a set of traffic lights and they start changing, and it's AI in the back end of it. You walk in, you drive into your complex, the boom gate opens. We don't realize it. It's all machine learning, computer vision, and so much AI in the back end. Where I believe we need to do better is being intentional from a skilling perspective. I spent some time with 2 universities recently where they are now intentional in bringing it into the classroom, such that it's not just an additional thing, it's something that, they're very active in the classroom in doing it.
Thank you, Madam MC. Thank you very much to everyone. As a wrap-up, one second. I think we need to have a gathering that discusses issues, especially from a data perspective, because there's a lot of issues with data. I've mentioned a few points, but we could not go broadly. And we need to really look into SMME innovation and how we can create and nurture that creativity and innovation. Thank you very much. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we give a round of applause for the panel? It was not an easy job. Yes. It was not an easy job to condense 2 panels into one, and I think they did a phenomenal job. Sure. All right, so while this is a picture moment, I would like to announce that we're now going to break for lunch. So there are ushers just outside the venue. We're going to take a walk towards the cafeteria, and that's where we're going to have our lunch. Lunch will be an hour. I think we've earned it. And we'll come back and we will wrap up. You will notice that we will condense the second part of the day. So a lot of those panels, you'll start, if it falls off, it's because we've condensed it somehow, just to try and rationalize time. Before we walk out, ladies and gentlemen, before we walk out, we were talking about supporting local business. A young man outside made me take off my earrings because he said that they were imported, and then he gave me the locally sourced, locally manufactured earrings. So as you walk to the cafeteria, I encourage you to have a look at the stands, look at the beautiful artwork that we have on display specifically for you. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the usher that you can follow. Just put your hand up. Follow this lady. If you're hungry, follow that lady.
only. There are equipments that you need from Zimbabwe, from Botswana, from Namibia, from around the globe. And I understand that the organ have made it available under their website for women to connect to each other, supply to each other, trade among each other. So let's use ICT. Go on the website, learn about them, see how you can connect with AFIA, see how you can connect with DOC, see how you can connect with Vodacom, see how you can connect with SABC, etc. is through the ICT. So also be able to be a woman that can research. Research the business that you are doing, research what you want to do, and research about what is being there within the region and within the country. And what is it that we want to bring out of the summit that can assist you for us to be able to trade among ourselves. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mayor. I think for the sake of time, I'm only just going to summarize very quickly what you're saying. What I'm hearing from you is, Bomme, let us not continue to complain, but then we are not answering to the call. We keep complaining that there are no opportunities, but we don't attend the workshops that talk about those opportunities. That's the first thing. Second thing is, education is also important, because if you go to those spaces, you are then able to be educated about what's on the floor. And another important thing that you highlighted is how instrumental collaboration is, and collaborating across borders. Because whatever it is you're trying to build in your country, something else you're going to need in another country. And if you have a circle of women, and if you have people that you're collaborating in another country within Africa, it's going to be easier for you to actually work and collaborate in whatever project that you're working on. So thank you so much, Me, for that. Give her a round of applause. All right, swiftly moving over to you, Me. And please, Ne, Samari, please. Your question, Ibile, it's very simple, so it does not need 10 minutes. Your question, Ms. Susan Ere, what kind of linkages, such as networks that we're talking about, partnerships, or programs have been most impactful in supporting women traders in Africa? Over to you, Me.
Thank you so much. As my fellow sisters have mentioned here, we in such platforms, that's why we get to engage and interact. Like now sitting here, all of us, I think after this, we need to engage and see how we can be able to build, because I think if we come together as organizations that are focusing on developing and empowering women, then we can be able to come up with something positive, because we've been talking. And what is, I normally tell the youth to say, at times, because I've been in the industry for more than 20 years, there were no cell phones, technology was not there, but we managed to go out and we use newspapers to be able to get information. So with the way things are going now, it's very easy for women to get access to information. There's social media, there's, AI is there and so forth. So there are linkages, there are partnerships that are being formed, and women are being empowered every day. There's something happening, there's an event happening every day that is empowering women. And so it is important that as women, we get out there, we get information. But at the very same time, I host events as well for women. And I normally say, in these events, I'm not just hosting talk shows or for you to come in, because you look beautiful when you go to these events. But it's not about that. It's about what are you taking after the event. So it's very important that we encourage and say, you need to take something when you leave. Like the women that are in this room, what are they taking and what are they going to do differently so that they can be able to be in path? Because networks are there, programs are there. They are there, but what are we doing? Why are we not implementing? So it's about time we implement, so that we action everything that we talk about or information that we get, because we can talk. And every leader, every lady here, or every woman in this platform, they are saying positive things. But what is everyone taking? So there's trade happening, globally. The world is so small, whereby you can trade Botswana, Uganda or Zimbabwe. The world is so small. And with the events that we attend, that's when you we get information to say, okay, fine, there's a demand of this, there's a market for this, so I can do trade like this. But again, in these events and that we attend and programs and so forth, compliance. That's one thing that always stands in the way, because programs are there, but we don't comply, But if we teach our women to say they need to comply, then they can be able to, and we'll see those programs and events being impactful, because then they'll be compliant, they'll be able to access. And funding, sorry, and also you spoke about funding. I always tell people that, money's there. Money is there, and the only thing that is standing between us and that money is compliance. And also, I normally say you need to outsource. But with us, we don't want to outsource. We want to do everything ourselves. You are the HR manager, you are IT and everything, you're marketing and so forth. So we need to teach our women to say there's nothing wrong in getting collaboration. We collaborate, we come together, you come with your expertise, I come with my expertise, and then we get to see and have those tangible results, and we can be able to have a way forward.
Yes, thank you so much, Me. I like that you guys are in sync. The minute I do this, you now know, Hore, okay, it's time. Thank you so much. I think from your, just your answering the question, the one thing that was different, there was a lot of linkages with what Mayor Pia and Medudu said, but the one thing that stands out from what you're saying is enough with just hosting talk shows. Let us have events like this, but after this we say, what next? Tangible, something tangible. What are we going to do after this? It's not about looking beautiful, and please, Bomme, continue to look beautiful. Yeah. But it's not just about being beautiful, but it's about, I was afforded an opportunity to be in this space. I was afforded this information. What am I going to do about this information? And who am I going to collaborate with to ensure that we make the difference that we want to see? Again, I will go back to the theme. How are we going to together build this Africa that we want? So thank you so, so much, Me. Now, Me, you said it's Jade. Sorry, it looks like Jade to me. Me Jade, your question. How do collaborations between women-led organizations across borders foster growth and create lasting linkages for women in trade? Over to you, Me.
Thank you for the question. So, yes, as the president of the Circle of Global Business Women, and it's my new position, this was one of my biggest peeves. I was like, what are we going to do? How are we going to create that network? And it's very easy to sit down and say, I'm going to do this, and this is what I'm going to do, but there is red tape. And this red tape is high jumps and long jumps and back swimming, back diving and all of this. So you feel like an Olympian at the end of the day. So what I did was I looked at the initiative and I said, okay, how do I collaborate with organizations that are already in this space so that we can now become one? Right? It's so important to say, okay, where are you? Are you in this country? Are you here? Can we collaborate? I'm not here to reinvent the wheel. I'm here to work with the next organization, with the lady next to me, with the lady right there at the back, because that's the only way we can get this done. If we're not doing it, then we are competing. And if we are competing, then we are going 10 steps back. So in life, there's 3 things. Your first part of your life, you learn. The second part, you earn. And the last part of your life, you return. So now, we all done the learning part. Now we in the earning part. You cannot earn if you do not collaborate. You cannot earn if you do not come together with what you want. Everybody has a unique product. Everybody says, oh, your product is unique. You know why? Because I believe it. I believe my product is unique. I believe nobody else's product, because if I didn't believe that, why did I do it? So you have to have that in you to get to the next market. You never know where you are, who's listening to say, can I collaborate with you? There might be somebody in this room today that has a product that could make my product better. And then if I added that, that means that nobody else has that product. And then there's 2 people that have grown a little bit faster. This lady's standing up, guys. I'm not sure why. Look at her standing up, and there's still one more lady to go. I'm sorry, that's just me, and my personality always comes out from time to time. So collaboration is definitely key. I'm working with all embassies. I'm making sure that we have the networks there. Our global office, Mr. Cindy Zamo, is our key as well to that, because that's what it is. How do you start with this? You get your export license. You start the process. We have to start somewhere. If you've got a product and you want to get that product out there, you have to start somewhere. You can't say you want to get it there and you haven't even got the export license. Let's be real with ourselves also.
Thank you
Right.
so much, Mayor. Thank you. You've already summarized it for us. Yeah, she summarized it for us. I think the key thing for me is let us not compete with one another, but work together. Because of time, ladies, after Metanya, I'm no longer going to ask the question that is for all of you, because maybe I would like to ask our lovely program director if we could just have 2 or 3 questions. What? Sorry? Next panel. All right. So we'll end with you, and then we'll wrap up. Tanya, what strategies have proven most effective in mobilizing resources and partnership to empower women in trade across the African continent? 2 minutes, please.
Okay, thanks for that question. And I know a lot has been shared by my sisters here. Collaboration is key. But I think where I want to start from is provide a platform that builds confidence in a woman. Confidence is key. Once the woman is confident, there is no mountain she cannot move. So confidence is very key. So if you're an organization that's working with entrepreneurs, that's where I see it as a priority. Leadership development, where there is a growth mindset in women. It's only until I have a growth mindset that I'll go out and seek resources. And upon that, I need to understand what sort of resources am I looking for? Is it funding? Not every woman who's an entrepreneur is looking for funding. Sometimes all women are looking for is information. The protocol that you were talking about, the AFCFTA, the most difficult, even just to go around the room here, I don't know how many women understand about that. So what am I saying? Confidence, leadership development, where women are being trained to even be resilient in an entrepreneurship. And then secondly, I want to talk about tailored capacity building. When it comes to capacity building, some of the stories we hear from women is we've been overcapacitated. And it's true. But are we providing the tailored support, capacity building that women are looking for? Sometimes all a woman is looking for is business readiness. To look at her business, where's your business at? Are you ready to take your business to investors? What can we do? What sort of technical support can we give you?
Yes.
I will go maybe to ABSA. I'll take my business proposal 4 times. And maybe there's just one element that I haven't put in my business plan or business proposal. So that's the other support that's required. Tailored capacity building. Do a business diagnostic when you're working with entrepreneurs. Where is the gap? What does this entrepreneur need?
Yes.
So, do I still have time?
Not really.
All right, so I'll stop there.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I mean, the points that you made are very critical. So our program director, in closing, I think I just want to wrap up the recurring themes of what's coming out of here. Women are talking about empowerment. Women are talking about collaboration, education, access to the spaces, not competing with one another. Over to you, Program Director. Thank you very much, my panelists.
Thank you very much. Can we have a round of applause for befitting of women that are moving mountains? All right, thank you very much. Still on the same topic of industrialization, we would like to give the stage to the youth. And let me get the name right. So we're still talking industrialization. We're still talking in the context of trade. but this time it's youth in trade. So our next panel is going to be led and moderated by Khomotso. Khomotso, please help me with your surname. Oh, okay. Buthelezi. Khomotso Buthelezi, if you would mind, please introduce your panel. And the ladies took 10 minutes of your time, but I will give it back to you because I believe in the youth and the future. Thank you.
Program Director, thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies, mostly. I don't see much gentlemen. The name is Khomotso Buthelezi, and today I am your moderator. May I? Thank you. If I may, we are on the African soil, so I'd like to introduce myself properly. Ndingumntana womfazi womXhosa. Ndingumntana womfazi womXhosa ozibiza ngoNxele, olixesiba umamkhumuna onzaba umatshina beyibheke njengomntwana unguNcayinga ubhelese ngubhoqo ngubhimbi inkozo zombini nembhemi njani ndithi akalompondo msake ngomfengu icace gca uba lo mfazi ulibhaca xa ndisithi ungumamxesibe ndithetha ngombathana ndithetha ngodoyi ndithetha ngomnune ndiyacamagusha xa ndinje nje camago. I'd love to give thanks and praises to those who have been here before us. I'd like to give thanks and praises to those who are here with us. And I'd like to give thanks and praises to those who will come from us. We believe in the Sankofa principle. We may be adorned in degrees, in PhDs, but we will never forget that we are rooted on this African soil. As mentioned, my name is Khomotso Buthelezi. I am standing here in front of you in the capacity of the coordinator for the Young South African Women in Dialogue. My panel, I've got Afia Nyasha, Masafengana, please. Why Saweed? Right, so Why Saweed is a wing of the South African Women in Dialogue. We do work that simply brings women from all across the country together to dialogue. People always ask, what does Saweed do? Can Saweed give me some money? No, we don't do that. We are simply a network of women. If you speak to any woman in South Africa, they'll tell you that they are affiliated with Saweed, whether they be in the private sector, whether they are in the corporate spaces, and I believe even Sis Cindy sitting right in front of me is actually a Saweedian. So that's basically what Saweed is. The patron, hi ma. Can I please stick to my 10 minutes that I've been given? May I please do that? That I've been gifted, yes. But the patron is Zanele Mbeki. For those who would like to know, please do visit the website and do find out information on Saweed. She is the patron, Zanele Mbeki. All right, Calvin Temba Makubele, you are the one of our panelists. Could you please join us on stage? I'd also like to call on Ukatleho Khopotse. Katlego Khopotse, could you please join us? I will also like to apologize for Olethabo Sithole, who was meant to join the panel, but unfortunately she has left the building, and she was going to be our fourth speaker. And let me just see if I can find Kelvin Temba. Kelvin, I believe that you're in the building. You did confirm that you are here. Please do. We need him as a young person. What I am going to do right now is I am going to introduce the panel. I'll just introduce the ones that are sitting in front. And of course, we always say ladies first. Unfortunately, sir, I think you don't need any introduction. You've already been introduced, but Miss Masavengana graduated with a diploma in marketing, administration, and journalism, and is a certified beauty therapist, as you can see, a qualified private journalist in aquaculture and fisheries, worked at Media Mass since 2014. The job got her appointed as the Southern Region Representative and Treasurer General of MOSFA, which was formed during the African Union IBAR workshop in 2016 in Accra, Ghana, in her bid to open doors for women to participate in the economic development sectors and fulfill her passion for women, girls, and social issues. She started advocating for their rights. She founded the Zimbabwe Deaf Football Association for the Hearing Impaired, to participate in international football games. And I will just stop it right there with your permission. Thank you. Right, the gentleman who's just joined us right now is one of our panelists, and his name is Kelvin Themba Makobele, market disruptor, highly innovative entrepreneur who likes to leverage on opportunities before they become obvious, a born futurist, and very optimistic about the future. Gordon Institute of Business. He's got a post-diploma in business development, business administration, and management. Africa Free Trade Advisory Executive Director. One Young World Ambassador. Previous Matlala Alirua Investment Holdings. Co-Chief Executive Officer. Previous Tosaka Resources Chief Executive Officer and previous World Economic Forum Global Shaper. He's also the previous Brightest Young Mind Project Manager. Please welcome Kelvin Themba Makobele. Of course, I did my research because you did not give me your CV. Exactly. That's how good I am. All right. Our third speaker, of course, is Ntate Okatlego Khopotse. I've had the pleasure of engaging with in the past hour. Katlego George Khopotse, a youth connector, likely actively involved in bridging the gap between young people, resources and opportunities. His work focuses on empowering and supporting youth development, particularly in the agricultural sector. I do think, though, that your bio does not do you any justice. So could you please make sure that you update that? Taking us up. All right. I'm just going to go back to the topic that we are discussing. Youth as the driver of industrialization in the context of African Continental Free Trade Area, creating linkages for youth within the trade. All right, I am going to hand over to our first speaker, Sis Afia. Please.